All right, so I'm recording my rock bottom story. I'll be really vulnerable. Okay, so when I moved to Atlanta about 2014, I want to say 2012. It was 2012 when I moved back to Atlanta, or moved back to Georgia. And I was in a relationship. We were living together. And 6 months in, I kind of knew that this probably wasn't going to work for various different reasons. Fast forward another 6 months later, the lease was about to be up, so it was time to either move on or stay. I chose to, move on. And right at the end of the lease, that's when things became really, really interesting, really never experienced that before, really toxic in a way. So in May, my mom, she came down with a rare case of pneumonia and was in ICU, and they put her in a purposefully induced coma so that her body could heal. And I was up at the end of the lease, and I said, well, I don't know what's going to happen with my mom. I may need to go home back to Idaho, and I need to not be trying to move and try to see about my mom. And it's just too much. And I still have a child. So he agreed. He said, okay, well, we'll do another month and we'll see. So while I was trying to maintain and figure out what I was going to do, I still needed to move forward with the move. So I was looking at apartments, and I ended up driving to my godmother's house one day. And I saw this big, huge sign. I mean, it took up half the yard of the house, and it said you can own this house for $750 a month. And I was like, I could do that. I could swing that. So I called the number. Didn't think I could qualify. And that's when self-sabotage and self-doubt get in the way, where you miss your blessings if you don't pull through that. But I called the lady and said, this is what I want. Do I qualify? She's like, yeah, you qualify. I was like, good. I want to get a house that's no more than $50,000. She said, well, our loans start at that. You kind of got to go a little higher. I said, yeah, but I don't want to go too higher than $750 a month, because I want still have a quality of life. I don't want to spend all my money paying rent or paying a mortgage, because that's no bueno. So she's like, okay, well, I'm going to give you the pre-approval letter. You can go ahead and get started and start looking. And I was like, great, this is awesome. I also did the first home buyers class, which gives you $5,000 toward your either closing costs or toward the cost of the house. So mind you, this is going on. I'm keeping this secret to myself because I don't want to alarm my significant other at the time. And things started getting really volatile, especially when I was talking with my brothers and relatives. He decided that since I was moving out, he needed to have more roommates come in so that they could substitute the rent. But being that I was like, hey, I still need more time because my mom is here, we were just all living in one roof. So if you could imagine a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 baths, it's me and my son, and then him, and then a family of 5, and then one other grown man sharing this living space. And it was very stressful. And so it was hard to have privacy. So things that should not have been miscommunicated or misrepresentative were that, because people were on top of each other and being in everyone's business. So by the end, we were arguing. I was being called all kinds of names, nasty messages. He's like, you better get the F out of my house. I want you gone. And it was like, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just trying to maintain and move on as peaceful and as amicable as possible. And I'm not really one that likes conflict. So to have it come at me from him and from the other people in the house looking at me, because they're his friends, right? They're not my friends, even though we knew each other while we were together. They're longtime his friends. So they're going to take his side. And that's fine. That's fine. It just became really challenging, really stressful on all sides. And so as I began to look for my house, I got guidance on where exactly, which area I should look in. And I began to look, and I saw this house that sat on a cul-de-sac, and it went down into the hill, and it was just a sea of dandelions, yellow dandelions. I said, oh yeah, this is my house. I don't even have to look anymore. I don't have to look inside. This is the house we're going to live in. So I put a bid in it. It was a short sale house. Typically short sales take anywhere from 3 to 6 months, just because there's so much red tape. You have to get the bank involved along with the seller. It just takes a lot. I did it in 3 by the grace of the Most High and the Heavenly Mother. I did it in 3. And it was challenging. It was because I knew real estate. I used to be a realtor. I didn't have anyone representing me because I knew what I was doing. But the other side also had a realtor. So trying to get everybody all on the same page is the normal process of realtors. What's not normal is when people start to point fingers and try to say the other person is not doing their job. And so that typically is what ended up happening, to where I'm telling these people, it's like, look, my situation is very volatile. He's about to put me out at any time. It's me and my child. I don't feel safe there. We need to make this work, and need to make this work quickly. You have all the information that you need from me. I was on it because I needed to go. I had the job that I needed. I was there. So at the beginning of June, my mom got out the hospital, and she was okay. She was recovering at home. So that was kind of a relief. And at that time, he was saying, okay, now you can get the F out. And I'm like, well, I'm not set to close till the end of the month. Can I please have till the end of the month? And I remember talking to my brother, saying, mom's about to get out of the hospital. It's going to be okay. And I was like, I was in the kitchen. I was like, thank God. And it's like, yeah, I know. This is a close call. I'll talk to you later. I love you. And I said, I love you too. Bye. And the guy there thought I was talking to somebody who I was dating, but I was actually talking to my brother. So he relayed that back to my significant other at the time. And it just made things so difficult. It's so much more difficult, to a point where I didn't feel safe. And toward the end of the month, he kept saying, you better get out, and all kind of, names and stuff like that. And so I think it was the last 2 weeks of the month, I said, okay, everything is good. And then there's, this proverbial, we forgot this. We don't have a clean title just yet. It's going to take another 2 weeks. We can't close till July 14th. I said, look, let me tell you something. I don't have till July 14th. This dude is wanting me out yesterday. I said, if it does not close at the end of the month, I'm walking. And all these 3 months that we suffered and strove to make this deal work will be for naught, because I'll just get an apartment and just call it a day. I don't have to continue to do this because I am not in a good position. So lo and behold, they stopped pointing fingers and miraculously got it done. And I was able to close that last week in June, July 1st, 2014. I moved into my house, which I didn't think I was going to get a house. I didn't. And I got a house. It was so surreal. I had this house and I didn't sell it until 2022. I had so many memories in that house. It was a yard. My son learned to ride his bike in that house. I've had rotations and chocolate parties in that house. I've had, tears of joy and tears of pain in that house. I've upgraded that house. That house had a lot, and it meant a lot. My uncle, who had pancreatic cancer, came and he refreshed and relaxed in that house. God rest his soul. He didn't quite make it past the cancer, but at least the house was able to give him some type of solace and peace before he passed on. So that is a little bit about me and my rock bottom story, and how I had to fight and use what I call the ace in the hole. When you say you're going to walk away from the deal, That's kind of like your ace card. Like, that's the last straw. And that usually gets people, especially those who are working on commission, to kind of act right and get the job done. So that is